This is for Diablo.
Hi.
Hi. What inspired you to satirize the traditional rite of passage that we normally see in a young adult novel?
Well, I've been an avid consumer of young adult literature since I was one. And I think some people leave that stuff behind when they become old adults, but I never did. And I was always interested in the fantasy world created in those novels, and that I think is the kind of thing we see reflected in pop culture more now than ever, with reality shows and these weird, fully made up people living these fake fairy tale lives on camera. And I think the idea of somebody whose priorities were completely screwed up, who wanted to live in that world even though it's completely unattainable, that was intriguing to me.
Okay, great. Next question, right here in the front.
Did you talk to young adult writers to prepare for this? And also, did you, what kind of feedback have you gotten?
You know, I didn't talk to anybody, which is probably pretty lazy of me. But the feedback I've gotten has been really interesting. I actually, since we've started showing the film, I've heard from a couple people who are not only young adult writers, but are in the position that Mavis is in, where they are writing books that are credited to another person or to a creator. And they were very enthusiastic about the movie and said that I nailed it, which felt good.
Any Francine Pascal kind of?
You know, I'm kind of working with Francine right now. I wrote the Sweet Valley High movie that is currently progressing toward production, I hope. So I was kind of inspired by that world, the idea of anonymity behind art.
And you did like a hard R Sweet Valley High too, which I thought was really courageous.
We're hoping for the hard.
Yeah, okay, cool, that's great. Awesome.
Yeah.
Stephen?
Charlize, this character in the press that I've read before I saw the movie, kept talking about what an unsympathetic character she was. And I was surprised because she seems to be an alcoholic, delusional, mentally ill person who's kind of a loser that you feel sorry for rather than hating. So can you talk about how you can you talk about how you see her and the idea of going against quote type for with this kind of thing?
Well, first of all, nice to see you again.
Yes.
Second of all, thanks for insulting me. Third of all, I mean, I've never been a fan of labels. You know, I think it's very easy to kind of look at somebody and just kind of throw a label on them. They're crazy, or they're, you know, and I'm not a big fan of overly justifying bad behavior or why people are the way they are. I think that it's a cop-out, and I don't have a lot of empathy for that. So I didn't really think of her, I thought the things that she did were pretty despicable. But then again, not like to the point where I was like disgusted by her. I never had a hard time not liking her. I would love to go and have a beer with her. I mean, I would never let her hang out with my boyfriend. But I would love to hang out with her. I think she you know, she's entertaining about all of her stuff. And you know, some people can have all of the things that she kind of have and just be really annoying and suck the air out of a room. And in a way she does suck but it's a funny way of sucking the air out of the room. And I found her fascinating. I found this, I guess, you know, if you want to say against, I don't know how to answer that. All I know is that what I liked when I read Diablo's script was the idea of a woman, who's dealing with very, very common mid to late 30s issues that women can really relate to, but because of kind of how she went through life, is dealing with them the way a 16-year-old would deal with them, you know? And I thought that was really fascinating. I mean, when she says things like, "Don't you know love conquers all?" It's like the typical 16-year-old would say that, and here she is, 37, like trying to get her life together, and she just doesn't have the tools to do it. So, you know, I don't try to kind of go for the overly sympathetic. I don't really like sympathy. I don't like it for myself. Sometimes sympathy can feel like you're trying to kind of victimize someone. I don't know, maybe it's my own shit that I have to deal with, but I think more than anything, people just want to be understood, you know.
Okay.
Jordan?
I guess with Bridesmaids and Bad Teacher now this, we're seeing a lot of like women behaving badly kind of movies. I wonder, you know, do you see this as a sign of progress for women in entertainment, or do you see it as a step forward or a step backward?
I don't know if I mean, I'm certainly not gonna call it a step back, because that would be the opposite of what I'm trying to do as a writer and also as a female. I feel like maybe it's funny when people talk about Bridesmaids, they always talk about, oh, we're seeing raunchy women, and I say, no, you're just seeing women. Like, that's what feels fresh about this. So you're actually seeing women in complicated, funny situations where you would normally see male characters. So I don't really see it as us seeing women behaving badly so much as just seeing more multifaceted female characters. And I hope there'll be more of that, because I'm enjoying it.
I think like it feels like, if I can just add to what you said though, you have finally made progress as a group if you can be depicted as fully as the full spectrum. Usually any kind of subgroup or smaller group in a movie goes from being made fun of and victimized, and then it swings too hard the other way where they're like amazing and always positive, which is just as dehumanizing, and then you finally like, hey, a single individual can be a hero and a villain and funny and an asshole, and just like we all are every second of the day. So, you know, that's definitely progress too.
Agreed.
Charlize, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I talked a lot about this when I did Monster. I think that people get really kind of freaked out when they see what Diablo just really beautifully articulated. It's just real women, conflicted. I mean, I think women are almost way more conflicted than men, and I think we come from a society that we're very comfortable with the Madonna whore complex, you know? We're either really good hookers or really good mothers. But we're not bad hookers and we're not bad mothers, and we're nothing in between. And I think it is refreshing to kind of see, yeah, I mean, I grew up on cinema where guys got to do that. Gene Hackman and Dustin Hoffman and De Niro got to play all of those kind of characters that, you know, I saw a little bit of myself in, those kind of struggles and the lurky, darky things, you know, and it's very rare to kind of see women, but I think women are doing, getting a chance to kind of play those kind of honest characters, and also, you know, when people keep going, oh, it's so brave, it's like, it really isn't. It's just refreshing, and it's so great as an actor to get the opportunity to do something that's incredibly truthful. It's been really, really nice.
Cindy?
Hi, Charlize. Cindy Perlman from the Chicago Sun-Times.
Hi, Cindy.
How are you doing? Two things. One, what would an Oscar nomination mean to you for this? There's a lot of talk of that. And second, do you think it's ever good to look up an old love, or just a mess all the time?
For your first question, I can't even think about anything like that. I mean, I'm so, I know it sounds so unbelievably cliche, but I haven't worked in 3 years, and to have the opportunity to come back and do something like this with Diablo, with Patton, with Jason, who I really, really wanted to work with, and with this kind of material, and to see people respond to it has been the greatest gift. And so I can't even like think beyond anything like that. It's just really nice to have people come up to me and have these little tiny anecdotes of like what they connected with in the movie, and the movie kind of puts them in this a little bit of a Mavis mood, so they feel like really free to kind of, you know, admit that they've done things like Mavis, which is just so endearing, and I love it so much because I just feel like that is proof that we all kind of set out to do the thing that we wanted to do, and that we succeeded in that, and so that is really the greatest gift for me. And plus, I have an Oscar, so.
One is enough? One is ever enough?
That was such an asshole thing to say. The other thing, I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing to call up an old love. I've not done that. I don't know. I mean, not if they're married with a newborn baby.
keep in mind, you don't have an Oscar for The Guest House, so just keep that in mind.
True that.
Yeah, that is true.
Hi, I have a question for anyone on the panel who wants to answer. Diablo, you write characters who have a very youthful approach to life, or youthful attitude. And music is, from their high school years, are very important to them. I was wondering, where do you listen to music? And anyone on the panel can answer, if you could compile a high school mixtape or compilation of songs or artists that were important to you, what would they be?
This movie is the high school mixtape. That's what was so fun about it, was getting to sit down with Jason. And Jason and I are the exact same age, so we were able to say, do you remember this one? Do you remember that one? And when the characters enter a space in this movie, a lot of the time there's like music playing, and it's almost always a song from the 90s, which was Jason's wink at the genre. But yeah, in fact, I was just thinking about that Teenage Fan Club song that Mavis is totally obsessed with and listens to in her car, and like that was probably my favorite song when I was 19 or 20 and I was a college radio DJ, and I would just play it constantly. Plus it's like 6 minutes long, so you could go to the bathroom, which is really important when you're a DJ. Where do I listen to music? Pretty much everywhere, like everybody else.
Anyone else on the panel? Favorite high school mixtape?
I remember when I read the script, and she described not just the song, you actually described that specific yellow cassette tape with the geometric thing, which I've made so many I don't know if anyone knows the one I'm talking about. I've made so many mixtapes for so many failed relationships on that cassette case. I gotta say, my high school mixtape would be, for me, when I was growing up, would be just the Repo Man soundtrack, because that is such a mixtape for safe suburban rebellion, and also for someone like me that was 10 years behind punk, and I got to spend the summer of '84 letting people in on, you gotta listen to these punk bands. Like, Pat, we know, it's been around since '79. No, you don't know, man, there's this band called Black Flag. Yes, we know, Pat, they've already broken up. No, listen. So it was just that was my high school experience of being 10 years behind everything. That's my mixtape right there.
Hi, Chris Arnold with thedishmaster.com. As you're creating this Diablo, writing it and getting it past the powers that be, and as actors, as you're considering the roles, and dealing with opinions from agents and managers, that sort of thing, I know you probably had a lot of obstacles. And
they're not thrilled when you hand one like this in, no.
I think like one of the things that stuck out with me, in particular, was the drunk driving thing. You don't see a lot of that in scripts anymore, and I wonder, like, in general, the obstacles that you had and how you got over them, and also just like specifically with that one, it's like, did you write that going, they're gonna fight me on this? Did they fight you on it? That sort of thing.
I really don't think this film would have ever come into existence if it weren't for, the combined power of Jason Reitman and Charlize, and
I had personal yeah, but my Twitter followers helped get this movie.
That's what they're following. Build this movie into me. On my own, it would have been a no-go. I mean, it's a challenging movie. It's a small movie. I feel like there has been, I have felt this pressure to write a big budget romantic comedy, basically since I rolled into town. And I try, and it's just doesn't seem to be in my skill set. I just write small and weird. And so I did sense some resistance, but at the same time, I've been fortunate enough to work with people who believe in me. And then when Jason gave the material his vote of confidence, that meant a lot, because he is, very selective about his material, and the guy has never made a movie that's less than great, in my opinion. So suddenly we had a little more firepower.